Welcome to Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 44th general election. Joining me now is Kim McArthur-Jackson, the NDP candidate for the riding of Northumberland Peterborough South. Kim, thanks for joining us on today's program and taking time out to meet with YourTV. So let's talk about right off the bat who you are and who is Kim McArthur-Jackson, because I'm sure there's many people in the riding of Northumberland Peterborough South who may never have had the opportunity to meet you. So here's your opportunity to introduce yourself to the people of the riding.
So I've lived in the area since 1990, so a few years now. I have 5 children. A lot of people who don't know me probably know at least one of my kids. My eldest is 26, my youngest is 9, so they kind of run the gamut. And activism is something that I've always been very, very involved with. I've always had very strong feelings towards trying to help people who, don't have the same privileges that I do. And I think in the end, that's pretty much what led me towards running in this election.
Have you been political in the past and helped, helped out on a campaign provincially, federally, municipally, or is this your first foray into politics at any level?
It's my first foray into politics as far as, being as involved myself. I have helped out with campaigns previously, with NDP campaigns previously, but this is definitely the most involved that I've been.
So why this time?
My apologies, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I just said, so why this time of getting involved and taking that step and putting yourself out there as the candidate for the NDP in the riding of Northumberland Peterborough South?
I think I've finally gotten to the point where I've realized that if I want to see real change, it's something that I have to get out there and make happen myself. There's a lot of people that aren't happy with how things are going right now in our riding. Particularly, we've been kind of flip-flopping back and forth between red and blue, and I don't think anybody's ever really been overly happy with how that's worked out for us. So I want to give people an opportunity to have somebody else to vote for.
So talking about the election, why the NDP party then?
The NDP party definitely aligns most closely with my personal politics. That's who I've always voted for. It's who I've always leaned towards. The NDP to me has always seemed to be the party that was the most concerned with, kind of helping everyday people, helping people who are working every day and yet still struggling, helping people who are, marginalized, who are, kind of trying to get ahead but just can't seem to. The other parties tend to talk a really good game about that, but not really do a whole lot about it. And, the NDP really does want to make a difference there. And that definitely aligns most closely with my personal beliefs.
Have you been out on the campaign trail yet, Kim, knocking on doors, visiting houses, or what's your plan for this election? Because it's certainly a different election with COVID-19 and the pandemic still being at the forefront. Yes, many people are vaccinated, but there are still those who are not, and still those people who are not really comfortable of having people come to their door yet.
Absolutely. And I do want to make sure that I'm getting out and getting to know people, because as you've said, a lot of people don't know who I am. And I want to make sure we have such a large riding. I want to make sure that I'm getting out and talking to people in every part of the riding so that I can find out what's important to them, what they think the priority should be. There's definitely going to be a big difference, I think, this time around. I know I've personally got quite a lot of Zoom meetings booked with different groups, with seniors, with workers, to talk about different things that they're very concerned about and they want to get information about the NDP's position on. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that this election, just like you said, because of the nervousness around people going door to door. But I will definitely be making myself available as well.
Are you still working? And I do believe you are during this campaign as trying to work with your campaign manager, trying to fit a time into your schedule. So how do you juggle that of trying to be a candidate as well as still working at your everyday job?
I am extremely lucky to have an employer that's very, very supportive of what I'm doing. So I will actually be taking some time off. We just kind of had to juggle, getting everything prepared for me to be able to take that time off. And kids going back to school, fingers crossed it stays that way. And being able to take some time away from work to focus solely on the campaign will really help.
So what is the family's thought of you joining this campaign and getting into the political foray? As you stated, you have kids, a wide range of kids who are still going to school, who are full, to ones that are adults. What's their opinion on mom getting into something completely different?
I think the general consensus is, yeah, that figures, that kind of, that they know what I'm like. They know how passionate I am about the things that are important to me. So I think it was not very much a surprise to anybody.
Obviously, you can't do this without the support of your family. So them not being surprised and you jumping into this is not something of a shock then to them.
Not at all.
So let's talk a little bit, Kim, about obviously a lot of this campaign is going to center around what occurred during COVID-19, as this was a minority government. Most of the time, this government was involved in COVID-19 because of the fact that it took up most of the time, almost 18 months, and here we still are working on it. What's the NDP's position on what the government did, maybe correct, or what they did wrong, and what difference the NDP made during the time of COVID-19?
Well, we definitely have a very firm stance as far as COVID goes. First and foremost, we need to make sure that we have the healthcare infrastructure in place that we need for something like this. If COVID showed us anything, it was where the flaws were in our system and where we needed to prioritize, getting more nurses in, getting more doctors in, making sure that everybody has the resources, whether that be, PPE equipment, whether that be, ventilators. There was so many places that we saw shortfalls, and where that's going to benefit us is being able to prioritize that moving forward so that, if and when something like this comes up again, we're better prepared. The NDP definitely was very, very involved with making sure that people had the help that they needed during this time. One of the things that, we made sure happened when it came to people having, payment when they had to stay home because their workplace closed. The original payment that they were looking at on a monthly basis was $1,000. I personally don't know anybody that could manage to live off of $1,000 a month. And so, of course, Jagmeet pushed to have that raised to $2,000 so that it was a bit more manageable for people. And, that's something that we want to bring to the forefront, is just, keeping the everyday people in mind. I can't imagine anybody looking at $1,000 a month and thinking, yeah, that's going to be sufficient. That's going to help run a household. And, bringing the actual people to the forefront and making sure that they're the focus and making decisions based on that is going to be key.
What do you feel, or what is the NDP stance on how the government fared during COVID-19?
As much as I hate to say it, I think we saw them drop the ball a lot. Unfortunately, we were kind of in a position, it felt like we were constantly running from behind, constantly trying to play catch up. I don't think we took it seriously early enough. I don't think we closed the borders early enough. I don't think, we went into shutdowns early enough. And I really think that we would have been in a much better place, and we would have been able to minimize its impact had we gotten in front of it right from the beginning and taken it seriously. And unfortunately, the current government just didn't do that. And I can understand wanting to be, very careful and very cautious to try not to impact the economy. But I think the overall impact to the economy ended up being worse overall because we didn't get in front of it right from the get-go.
In the riding of Northumberland, Peterborough South, one of the issues that has come up during this time is high-speed internet. Obviously, as you stated, we're doing this through Zoom. Many of your meetings and such is going to be through Zoom. High-speed internet has come to the forefront of almost a necessity as much as food, water, health in this country. So, what is the NDP's plan to change what is currently in place?
Well, one of the things that we want to do to make sure that it's accessible to people is actually start a Crown corporation that is specifically for that purpose. The day and age that we live in now, so many people working from home, so many people schooling from home, we need to make sure that people have the access that they need to be able to do those things. And as it stands currently, it's just not available. I mean, I'm very lucky, being right inside the town of Campbellford, I am able to get decent internet, but you go about 10 feet further outside from where I live and, unfortunately it's not accessible. And in this day and age, that's not acceptable. We have to make sure that people have that access.
You're watching Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 42nd general election. And joining me is Kim McArthur-Jackson, the NDP candidate for the riding of Northumberland Peterborough South. We're getting to know Kim a little bit on our first episode and finding out where she stands and why the NDP government. So, Kim, one of the issues in this area also is, and across Canada, is certainly affordable housing. And we're starting to see the real estate market is slowing down somewhat, but housing prices are off the roof. Many people can't afford a house at this time as a first-time home buyer. Talk to us about the NDP's plan on how they're going to help individuals. First, let's get into home buying and possible home buying, and then we'll talk about after you answer that, and talk about affordable housing. And as we're starting to see in Cobourg and Port Hope, more people on the street, something that we haven't seen in the past.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's impacted, like you said, everywhere, but we can really see it in our area. And it's a huge point of concern for the people in this riding. As far as home ownership goes, we have a number of plans in place to help that to happen. One of the things that we want to do is, go in and change the CMHC, the Canadian Housing Mortgage Corporation regulations, so that we can make sure that the focus for those loans is on everyday people, everyday individuals who need affordable housing, and so that it's not benefiting, people who are going in to buy investment housing and then jack up the rent and make it really high and that sort of thing. We need to make sure that we're focusing specifically on people who need to buy homes and have somewhere to live. Another focus on that is going to be putting a 20% levy on foreign buyers. So anyone who's not a permanent resident or a citizen will have that levy applied to them, and that will help to cool down that market, because a lot of the purchasing that's going on right now is from people who don't actually live in Canada. They're purchasing and then renting out, which again is affecting that side of things as well.
On the flip side of that, Kim, is the fact that affordable housing we're starting to see coming right down to rent as well. As we stated, there's many people who cannot find any accommodations that fit into their budget currently due to the pandemic. Many people are, couch surfing, as we say, staying with friends for a little bit, moving on to another friend's house, looking for something short term. It has become a big issue. We're now starting to see it on the streets of Cobourg and Port Hope more and more over the last couple of years, something that many people didn't think was a problem, but it was hidden before because of the fact that there was some housing accommodations or low rental units. Now they're not seeing that. Now they're being pushed out in the street. So what's the plan for the NDP government to rectify this or help those that need it the most?
One of our big focuses is going to be making sure that we're getting that affordable housing built. I think one of the big drawbacks has been, there's been a lot of plans put into place, but there's a lot of red tape. Everything goes really slow as everything's running through the bureaucracy. It's the people that are getting lost in that. So, our main focus is going to be getting 500,000 affordable housing units built so that people have somewhere to go. And key to that is going to be making sure that it can be done quickly. So we're going to have a streamlined process put into place so that there's not so much jumping around, so much red tape to have to get through. It'll be one spot that you can go to streamline the process and start getting it done. Like, we need to start getting everything built sooner rather than later. And in the meantime, because people are in need right now, and affordable housing is going to be great, but it is going to take some time to be built. So we have a rental subsidy that's going to help with those people that are currently living in overpriced market conditions, to help ease the time frame between when we get in and when we can get that affordable housing built.
A lot of the times, Kim, in these elections, especially at the federal level, you're more focus is on the leader rather than what you can offer as a candidate in the riding. So what can you offer, or what's your message as to why they should vote for you, and what is your plan for the riding of Northumberland Peterborough South? Because as we've stated in this interview, it's a wide array, it's a large riding, from large cities in Cobourg to Port Hope to rural communities such as Campbellford and Keene and Colborne, and smaller ones such as that.
My goal at the end of the day for this riding is to represent everybody in this riding. I want to make sure that people know that they can approach me, that I'm going to be listening to their problems, and that I'm going to be bringing them to the table in Ottawa. And I know that's something that a lot of people say, but I think we've seen, unfortunately, a significant lack in that area. A lot of people look at the position of MP and think, okay, that's our member of parliament, but they're not necessarily doing anything specifically for us. And I want to make sure that people know that I am doing that, and I want them to be able to approach me and tell me what the needs are and what I need to let Ottawa know when I'm there, to make sure that I'm representing the people of the riding.
You stated that this riding has flip-flopped back and forth between Conservatives and Liberals. Why is it time for an NDP member to say in this riding?
It's time for change. I think there's a lot of people in this riding that are just, tired of the same old and the status quo. There's a lot of people in this riding that are a lot more progressive than our voting record would show. And, I think it's time to just bring that forward and have somebody in the MP position that's actually focusing on the everyday people, focusing on people living in poverty, focusing on, bringing better healthcare resources to the area, focusing on housing, all of those things that are so important to our area.